he would tell stories about how there'd be a moving van in the driveway of these places, but the blow-door testing contractor was still working, and if they didn't pass their blow-door test, the van had to leave. Like they weren't allowed to move in unless the house passed the blow-door test.
Welcome to an episode of the Build Insite podcast. We are at a very unique location today. We're actually in one of my finished home projects for Callery Building. We've just wrapped up a final blower door test here to try and find out how airtight the building was. Pleased to say we got 4.1 air changes an hour, which leads me to today's guest is Jessica from Climasure and the Building Sciology Potty. Jess is actually a bit of a frequent flyer on the podcast. This is your third time. Jess, welcome back to the Build Insite podcast.
Thank you, Luke. It's always a pleasure.
So Jess, you've had a lot going on lately. Obviously, your work with Climasure, as well as starting your own podcast, talking about building science and all that good stuff, and some incredible guests. Tell us about what's been going on.
The podcast is now well into its second year. Been doing it for about 18 months now. Yep, been doing it started January 25. So, it's been a wild ride. I've met a lot of really cool people and had a lot of really cool conversations. So I'm really enjoying that. And on the work side of things, it never stops. Lots of blower testing.
Yep.
Lots of passive house stuff, lots of training. We're the South Australian partner for Proclaimer, as you know. So we've been doing some training for the local builders around South Australia, over on the Eyre Peninsula and in Mount Gambier in the last couple of weeks. So there's been a lot going on. And as of yesterday, have launched into the area of EMFs as well. So
awesome.
all sorts of fun stuff.
Very interesting topic that I want to dive into a little bit later. I get for people that don't know you, obviously we know who you are. I work with you quite a bit, and third time on the podcast. People that don't know, tell us a little bit about your background.
So I started out doing energy efficiency assessments for the building code, so star ratings and all that sort of jazz.
Yep.
And I did that for a good 7 years, and during that process, learning about how the building code energy efficiency clauses work and how the assessments work, I began to realise that what gets designed and what gets assessed and what gets built can be three different things. And it started to grind on me a little bit. And then I learnt about blower testing. One of my ex-colleagues brought blower testing into the business I was working for, and it just sort of went from there. I was immediately interested in learning about how the as-built, like the actual performance of the homes rather than simulations. And from blower testing, then you have to learn about ventilation, because the two things go hand in hand. And from there was passive house, and from there was hygrothermal simulations, and from there came building biology. So it's just sort of been a bit of a domino effect for me, just a bit of a hunger for knowledge about how buildings work. Awesome.
When did the jump come from that background to then coming on board with Climasure?
Jackson Digney, who owns Climasure, was an actual client of mine at my previous role. Yeah, he was a blower testing client, and I knew he was building energy efficient homes, and he had the business, he had the environment that I really wanted to be part of, and so that relationship just sort of evolved, and it was a win-win for both of us.
Yep. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, for those that don't know, Climasure is definitely helping the South Australian building market. There's obviously, if you're not in SA, you're going to have to do your own research and find your own consultants and professionals to help you with that. But yeah, the way that Climasure have been able to help, specifically me, like when I started on the venture of wanting to build better, there was very limited information out there, and it was a bit hard to work out who to believe or which way to turn or whatever. So yeah, leaning on consultants like yourself and Jackson has been incredible, and I love what you guys are doing. It's been great.
Thanks, Luke.
Let's jump back to the podcast, because obviously the work that you do with Climasure versus the podcast is quite a bit different. It sounds like it's been going well. I've seen some incredible guests that you've had on there so far. Fortunate enough that I've been on there myself as well.
You have?
How has the journey been? Has it kind of evolved the way that you'd expected? Is it, exceeding or like what? Tell me a bit more detail about the potty.
my original intention came from just a general frustration in how quickly and easily information gets shared, particularly in the building science and building performance space. I wanted to put out good information from a variety of sources. I have a lot of really cool conversations on a regular basis, and I wanted to be able to share those with people who were interested. Try to break down the barriers of communication and learning. So I started out, which literally in my bedroom, just with purely the intention of recording conversations and putting them on the internet for anyone who was interested. The progression of guests I've been able to get has surprised me. There's a gentleman called Dr. Joe Stebrick so he's very well known over in the US. I did one of his online building science courses, and we sort of struck up a bit of a camaraderie through that process. He's, widely respected. And I got him on early. So that kind of opened the door for me to a lot of other international guests of his caliber. Yeah. And it's been really, really good. I've been able to get a lot of I've been able to have a lot of really good conversations off the back of that, and off the back of the other things that I put out on the internet, particularly via things like LinkedIn. And it grows slowly every month, and just having a lot of fun doing it. I get a lot of supportive feedback, so it keeps me going.
You yourself, you've been on quite a few podcasts. Third time now on Build Insite podcast, and I've seen you as a guest on many in the past.
Yeah. Is
there anything that surprised you that is quite different, or it's been surprising being a host versus being a guest?
No, I feel more in control when I'm the host. I know exactly where I'm going with the conversation.
And you don't get the questions sprung on you the morning of the podcast?
Yeah. Because of that experience, I try to give my questions to my guests a day or two ahead of time so they're prepared. But often it's not really necessary, because everyone I speak to knows what they're doing, and I guess that's just more for me. But being the guest is a little scarier than being the host.
Oh, good.
For over 130 years, Bowens has been the builder's choice, providing a service that provides timber, hardware and innovative building products.
And now we're helping you further with this wonderful partnership.
The family that have been here for generations, Bowens, has been powering the Australian building industry with family values, trusted service and the drive to make our industry better. They're helping us provide you the insights that matter. Build Insight, together with Bowens.
Real people,
real insights.
Has it changed your day-to-day at all? Is there any overlaps with Climasure and the podcast, or the podcast is kind of all like in your own time after hours, or?
Yeah, there is some time overlap. So Enduro and Climasure do offer like an in-kind sponsorship of sorts, where I'm allowed to use some work time for recordings and things like that, because if I'm recording international guests, the times don't always line up.
Yep.
And I don't really want to intrude on people's evenings as well. So I try to keep it reasonable, and so it doesn't interrupt my workday too much. Yeah. But and then all of the editing and everything and publishing is done in my own time.
You edit your own podcast?
I do, yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of time. I'm fortunate enough that I never had to physically edit them myself in the early days. But back, I know when we had the VA at the start, when we were recording it and uploading it, ready for someone else to start chopping it up, that was a mission. So definitely grateful that we've got Michael on board now to produce all this stuff for us. So hats off to you, Jess. It's a lot of work.
It's completely self-produced and self-funded.
Well done. Go you.
Yeah, it's a bit of a passion project.
Yeah. Any particular episodes that have really been a standout for you, or had any big reactions?
Yes. The international guests, I've had Joe Stebrick, who is coming to Australia later this year, and I'm going to meet him in person. I'm very excited. Up in Cairns. I had Matt Reisinger on the show. He's very well known in the US. I've had Coda Ueno, who is another Building Science Corp. He's now the principal, I believe. I believe Joe Stebrick started Building Science Corp.
Okay.
buildingscience.com, and he's given it to Coda, I believe, is what's happened.
Yep.
And Coda Ueno is a very, very smart dude. I put a reel up on Instagram about insulating brick cavity walls, and the internet feels very strongly about insulating brick cavity walls. But
Strongly in a positive way that it's a good thing, or people have got opinions on that it might be a bad thing?
Yeah, I think the
Or
clip
both.
that I used was a little bit provocative. It didn't give enough context to what Coda was saying, so people were like weighing in on whether he was right or wrong. If they listen to the episode and the rest of the conversation, it does give further context. But
Gotcha.
what I was referring mostly to insulating existing walls. And he was saying, I wouldn't really do it. It's a little bit risky, particularly if the walls are exposed to rain and they get wet.
Yep.
It's not really a safe assembly.
Trapping a bit of moisture in there.
Yeah. And then people were saying, yes, you can insulate brick cavity walls. You just need an air gap and you can use this type of insulation. But that's all well and good when you're creating a new wall,
Yeah.
when you have that flexibility.
Yeah.
But when you're retrofitting, which is a lot of our Australian housing stock, the go-to is to blow in insulation into the brick cavity. And so that's really what I was asking about.
How good's the internet? There's some
Fun times.
red hot opinions out there, that's for sure. I've been following our previous conversations lately as well, and your little journey that you're at the moment on Instagram. I noticed you've got a bit of an extra deep dive into healthy homes at the moment. Obviously, high performance homes and healthy homes, they go hand in hand with each other, because you can clearly create a high performance home that could potentially impact the health if it's not done right as well. I want to steer away from that a little bit, though, and more focus on what you're learning and what you're trying to teach yourself and put out there with the healthy home space at the moment. Things like EMFs, so I'll let you go into detail on what that is and what you're researching. But yeah, let's get into the healthy home space.
Sure. Well, we've been focusing on indoor air quality for quite some time, ventilation, air tightness, that sort of thing. As I mentioned, and you've just said, we're venturing into EMFs at the moment. So we're collaborating with a guy called Mitch Marchland over in Canada and Zara Dakota from Healthy Home. This is on Jackson Digny's own house. So he's building a certified passive house.
At the moment.
Yeah, he's building one for his family, and he wants to make sure that it's also going to be safe from an EMF perspective. Not everyone believes that EMFs are a thing. Some people think it's a bunch of baloney. I'm not here to make a judgment on whether it is or it isn't. I don't know yet. I'm still learning. So, but what I did yesterday was I went on site. We've got some equipment. And I went on site to take some readings of the site. So the site's been cleared, the slab was being poured, and the purpose of the assessment was to find out if there was any radio frequencies of any concern. So the router is already connected, like the Wi-Fi.
While the slab's being poured.
Yeah, because it was an existing home.
Right.
That was bulldozed, and there's a pool house, and there's a router that's already in the pool house.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's going all out.
Yeah, you'd have to ask Jackson on the details, but there's a bunch of things that they're doing.
That'd be cool from a project manager's perspective. It's like, yeah, cool, guys, you can go work on site because there's Wi-Fi there already.
Yeah. And there's a power line that runs along the front of the property as well. So we were just there to take some readings on radio frequencies, electric fields, and magnetic fields, just to find out if it was a high, what do they call it? I forget the name that Mitch used. High frequency. It's a low EMF site anyway, is basically the upshot of what we did.
You mentioned what were the different frequencies? You had radio.
It's radio frequency,
magnetic,
electric fields, and magnetic fields, I believe.
Do they all come under the EMF banner?
I believe so.
Gotcha.
Yeah. EMF stands for electromagnetic frequency. So this is something that, or EMR, electromagnetic radiation, is another way to refer to it. This is, again, it's very new area for me. But the way I see it is you can't control what you don't measure. And we can't see radio frequencies, we can't see carbon dioxide, we can't see particulate matter, you can't see humidity. I mean, you can feel it sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's all these things in the air flying around us that we can't see, but they impact our comfort and our behavior. So, and our health ultimately. So if you can measure them, then you can control them. So that's what we were doing. We're measuring.
Yep. That also goes with, I reckon it might have actually been back on your maybe your first podcast you did with us, you were talking about a woohoo meter or something?
Yoo-hoo.
Yoo-hoo. Measure for it sounded a bit woo-woo at the time.
I love it.
Yoo-hoo.
Yeah, yoo-hoo.
Can we touch back on that again? Because you explained to me what it was, and it was interesting that, again, that you were using that as the example in your own house to start with
Yeah.
the gas cooktop, from memory?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So the Yoo-hoo monitors, I paid about $600 for it. I think you can get them cheaper than that. But it's a plug-in monitor that sits on my desk at home.
Yep.
And it measures 9 different things it measures the indoor air quality. So it measures temperature and humidity. It measures carbon dioxide. It measures particulate matter, VOCs. It measures ozone, 9 different things. I can't remember all of them, but it measures the air.
Yep.
And I can look at my phone at any given time and find out what's going on in my house.
Yeah.
So if we put the gas cooktop on and cook, like you fry an egg, particulate matter skyrockets.
Yep.
And although cooking is, everyone cooks, it does release some very fine particles into the air that we breathe in. So this is just a way of monitoring how quickly they spike and how quickly they then dissipate as well.
So using the example of like a family that may live in let's call it a normal home, that might have just been built by any random volume builder or whatever, someone that's not focused on that sort of stuff, like what are some of the risks or things that they can't see that might actually be affecting their family?
One of them was particulate matter. So it depends on how good your range hood is, how quickly that particulate matter or how easily it's actually being extracted directly above your cooking area at the source. And then, depending on how airtight the envelope is, whatever is flowing around in the air, how quickly it dissipates, how quickly it falls to the ground or how quickly it moves out the envelope. The other thing is carbon dioxide, but it's probably the one that most people are aware of. I have a carbon dioxide monitor in my bedroom. It's not the Yoo-hoo, it's called an Aranet 4. And this is a battery powered, it's about, yay big.
Yep. Which is, for the listeners, how big yay big?
A couple of inches square, maybe. And that measures temperature, humidity, and CO2.
Yep.
And I take that everywhere with me. I take that traveling on planes and different conference rooms just to find out what's going on in the air that we can't see. And in my bedroom, interestingly, you got a couple of people sleeping overnight and the carbon dioxide will easily get up to, in my bedroom, 2,000 parts per million if I don't open the door. It should be under 800 for a healthy indoor environment. Wow. So, it's not going to kill anyone. No one's going to die. It's just not optimal for health. It's, it makes you feel more tired. And so classrooms are another really good example of where carbon dioxide is an issue. You've got 25 kids breathing in a closed up classroom, particularly in winter when it's cold or the windows are closed up, and carbon dioxide can spike real quick.
Yep.
I had 4 kids in my car recently, and I thought, just for fun, I'm gonna bring my Aranet 4 in the car. We were in the car for 10 minutes. There was 5 of us in the car, and but in that 10-minute period, the carbon dioxide was up at 5,000 parts per million because there was 5 of us in the car. So again, no one's going to die. It's just not optimal and can contribute to drowsiness and things like that. And in learning environments, not great. It can also impact sleep and et cetera, et cetera. So
Sometimes some scary numbers that you wish that you didn't know, but it's nice to know, I suppose.
Once you know, you can't unknow, all of this stuff. And it just gets more and more interesting as you uncover things.
Yeah.
Circus Studio is Australia's leading interior design centre. If you're an architect, building designer, interior designer, builder, or just looking to build your dream home, you need to make a time and come in and check out the space here in Port Melbourne.
With everything from wall and ceiling linings, doors, architectural hardware, cladding and flooring.
This space holds every element that you'll possibly need to design your dream home.
I know a bit of the conversation we were having this morning while we were doing the blower door test was about testing of homes. I want to dive into a little bit of advice for maybe the younger or the fresher builder coming through that doesn't know where to start or understand really what it is. They might want to build better, but they don't know where to start with what to implement or what to start testing. Can you give us some advice on how this probably goes hand in hand with what Climasure do as well? Like, is there anything you'd suggest for them to consider during the design, or how can they also measure it while they're building as well?
While they're building, excuse me. It's a tricky one to answer because I think, as you were saying, blower door testing is the easiest way to measure the performance of any building. It's the easiest, cheapest way. Often it can only be done at the end of a build because you need an air barrier.
Yep.
And in a lot of houses, the air barrier is the plasterboard.
Yep.
The ceiling, the concrete slab or the flooring, and the walls. That's your air barrier. In some of the projects that you've done where you've used an external membrane on the walls and the roof, that can act as an air barrier during construction. So when you do those sorts of projects, you can do an air tightness test on the membrane itself because it's completely sealed to the slab, it's completely taped, and you can test the performance of that at that stage.
Yep.
If you're using an anti-con roof blanket, even if you're using a wall membrane, you can't really test because the joins aren't complete.
Yep.
You can test if you don't want a result. So if you don't want an official number, I can still bring the fan to site and run a test, and we can see where air is leaking. It's just a lot harder.
Yep.
If there's that much air, you've got a frame and a wall wrap and a roof blanket, that join between the wall and the roof is going to be very open.
Yeah. I guess that for the listeners that maybe are only just getting into that, for a bit extra context, is maybe you can't really tape the anti-con blanket to the wall wrap. Whereas if you're using something like the ProClimate system, the idea is to have that continuous barrier of the Mento wrap from the roof overlaps the wall wrap and gets taped to it. So you're basically building, like Matt Rising says it the best, it's like a Monopoly house.
Yeah.
You're kind of sealing that
You
one
wrap it up
entire
like a
envelope.
present.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you can tape the anti-con to the wall wrap if you really want, I suppose, but it depends on a lot of things. It depends.
Well, I don't think you can, because it doesn't have to, it has to go down and run, like the foil has to be tacked to the top of the fascia. So
does it?
The condensation runs into the gutter.
Into the gutter, of course. Yeah. If you had a vented wall cavity, we're getting in the nuts and bolts here, probably a bit of a tangent, but if you had a vented wall cavity, could you tape it and it would still run down into the wall
probably.
cavity?
Yeah. Or, I mean, if you really want to go to extremes, if you could get to the back of it, you could run your wall wrap up, cut it between your rafters and tape it to the underside of the anti-con or something crazy like that.
Yeah, it depends. There's all different ways
or
to
just
do
use
it.
Mento.
Or just do that. Oh my gosh. That's what I recommend. But yeah, so typically the blower door test is done at the end of a project when all of the door seals are on, the PowerPoints are on, all of the data cables are in, everything's finished, because if there's still unfinished things and there's holes in the envelope that are going to be not part of how the finished home is going to be. So we're not going to really test at that stage. We can tape up and things if necessary.
Yeah. For those that have never heard of a blower door test or seen one, what's the blower door test revealing?
Also, I'll explain what it is first.
What it is,
Yep. So a blower door test is a test that tests the air tightness. How many times can I say test? It tests the air tightness of a house. So I'll bring a temporary door frame and a fan, set it up in an external door, and then negatively pressurize the house. Mostly we negatively pressurize. You can positively pressurize as well. We don't typically do both unless it's for a certified passive house. Negatively pressurize the house, and by drawing air out of the building, we are drawing air in through all the gaps and cracks that shouldn't necessarily be there. The house is completely closed up, all the doors and windows are shut, and that way we can actually see where air is coming in that it shouldn't be.
Yep.
When we talk about air tightness, we're not talking about not being able to open and close your doors and windows. That's not it. We're talking about the junctions, the installation of components. We're talking about gaps and cracks that should not be there. So that blower door test will reveal if you've got dampers on your exhaust fans. It will reveal how well your windows were installed. It will reveal if there is a giant gap underneath your skirting boards that shouldn't be there, that was just covered up with the skirting boards. It will reveal if your downlights are leaking. It will reveal if sometimes one of the biggest leaks that we don't expect is your key lock. All these areas that in a house that air comes in that you don't think of. And then we can quantify that with a number. So we calculate the volume of the house, and then how much air it takes to pressurize to 50 pascals is divided by the volume of the house, and that gives us a result.
Has there ever is there a highlight test that you've done, like one that was like the most surprising result, either good or bad?
Not necessarily surprising, because whenever I test a house, you can tell sort of how it's going to come out. There's not usually any surprises. But the highest result I've ever had was 24 air changes an hour.
Wow.
And the lowest result,
hopefully on a
existing home,
to be renovated.
Yes. The idea was the gentleman was going to be doing an addition and then improving the existing as well. And the lowest I've ever tested was 0.22 on a certified passive house.
So basically no air movement whatsoever.
Yeah. And this was an owner builder who did all of his own taping. So he was fastidious.
It is very, very time consuming for those that have never done your own taping and trying to find every little bit. You can spend, I was going to say hours, but you can spend days and days and days and days.
Just ringing me, Jess, I need more tape. Jess, I need more tape. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever quantity of tape you think you need, triple it. Yeah.
That was the end of part 1 with Jess from Climasure. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Tune in next week for part 2.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you want to find out more about Build Insite, head over to the website buildinsite.com.au. Over on the website, you'll find links to previous podcast episodes, as well as our YouTube channel, Instagram and Facebook. Hope you've enjoyed the episode. Catch you on the next one.
Well, that's a wrap for another week's episode of the Build Insite podcast. Before we leave, just want to give a huge shout out to all of our sponsors for their ongoing support. Without their help, Build Insite wouldn't be what it is today.
Let's cue the disclaimer. I need to let you know that myself and the Build Insite team are in no way, shape or form qualified to give you personal or specific business advice. We strongly encourage you seek out the use of professionals for products or when you are making personal or business decisions. Everything discussed during the Build Insite podcast is our own and the guest opinion and personal experience and is of a general nature only. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Catch you on the next one.